if I got a boat and I'm trying to sell it, how do you see that market kind of changing as of right now compared to how it was a couple years ago?
After the pandemic, there was a huge boom, on the boat sales. The stock was quite limited. The prices got a little up. Now, the past year, being a little more complicated, it's been declining a little bit. Dealerships, they got some old stock, they got to rid of. You're starting to see some good prices, some good discounts.
Look on getting a deal on a boat? Like, what's some tactics that they might be able to use to find a good deal on a boat?
Boat you want to buy, what brand, you're just waiting for the right moment. You want to follow up a little bit with whoever the dealer or distributor is to see how they're doing with the stock.
Welcome to the Boaters Podcast, everybody. Today we're hanging out with Captain Gonzo. He is a boat salesman at two different dealerships down in Miami, so he knows all about boat prices, new boats coming on the market, as well as how to get a good deal on a boat, which we're going to be talking about all those kinds of things, the boating industry, new boats, boat prices, all that stuff today. But just so that way you can get to know Gonzo a little bit better, Captain, what got you into boating, or what was your first experience with boats? Kind of how did you get into the industry?
Hello, Aaron. Thank you for the introduction. I'm very glad to be here. So, quick forward, what got me into boating? My father. I mean, since I was young, I did sailing optimist when I was like 8 years old. Then my father, he bought a reef boat when I was young, and yeah, I mean, I learned all the basics from experience when I was young. So, boating, since I remember, I can tell.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So sailing, because that's totally different. Like, people that are into sailboats and sailing, and then like ribs, like you got the power boaters and the sailboats. Did you guys live on a sailboat, or is it into like sailboat racing, or like what? How'd that sailboat? How was that?
It was mainly racing, just competition. Or yeah, I learned
Oh,
like the more tough things there. But then most of my experience, like it's about the rips because I was the one into the boats when I was young. My father, he as soon as he saw I love the boats, he was okay. What could we get? And he liked the rips, so he got into rips. And yeah, I was obsessed with it. I would go clean the boat when I was young, like all kind of stuff, like trying to go faster, improve stuff on the boat. So since I was young, man, I was trying to get it dialing.
that's awesome. That is awesome. I've never done I like rib boats too. So like ribs are like, that's a whole conversation there on the ribs, but kind of dialing in on the sailboat racing, because that's kind of interesting to me. I mean, like I've never been involved in, like I've watched, the America's Cup, stuff like that, but like, are you talking like smaller sailboats or bigger ones, or what kind of like, were you actually racing, or was your dad racing, or what, and then where
No.
was this? Was
Mhm.
this in Miami?
I was actually racing. Well, my background story, it's I was born in Argentina, Buenos Aires. So I came here to the US late 2020, 2021.
Oh, wow.
Um
Okay.
yeah. So it was myself. It's this like sailing class. It's called Optimist, where it's like almost like a bathtub, literally. It's so small. Only one kid in there fits, and you got your
Hmm.
own sail. And yeah, you do sailing there, competitions. You learn all the basics. It gets pretty crazy, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
you might see some around. Well, I'm from Miami. You might see some little sailboat schools around Miami. It's kind of like a thing. There's like world championships and everything. But it's crazy. See all these young kids, like 7-year-old guys, like they're really out there. With heavy wind, like 15, 20 knot winds, like 10-year-olds going through it with the waves. It's really crazy for it. And
Wow. Yeah, yeah, really intense. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
That is cool. So got into the sailing, Argentina. Did you do a lot with the boats down in Argentina, or how was that down there? Because that's a totally different style, but you're more like pangas and stuff like that down there, right?
Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah, you got your river kind of side, then you have some like ocean. We got all the freshwater, saltwater. I was most in the freshwater, the river side.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, Argentina's a little different. Like we don't have the kind of same boats. It's a huge niche that the boating right there, but it's just a little different. The more small boats and yeah, just overall a little different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Miami boating scene is just a different, bigger. It's just a different boating scene altogether. I mean, you're talking like it's just think of boating but bigger, and more bigger, more expensive, fancier, like just crazy. So,
Yeah.
um, tell us about the rib boats. Like, tell us more about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, my story more in depth here with the boating came when I came here to to Miami. I was like, okay, I didn't really knew how the drill went with all this boating and all that. So I came here, so there's crazy amount of boats. Everyone's, I mean, if you come to Miami, you gotta be in the water, basically. In Florida,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's all about it's nautical, capital of the world. So yeah, I got into boating here. I started doing some charters some time ago, working as mate. Going down to the marinas, knocking doors, living literally like some signs around. Starting with small boats, pontoon boats. Then I worked my way up. I literally, I mean, most of the stuff I learned, just from seeing, even from YouTube. That it's crazy stuff. Um, Overall, you start gaining more experience, you start working with more serious people, and you grow around, you start driving serious vessels. And well, today, I mean, pretty much, yeah, I mean, I got my American captain license. I'm all along here. I drive some boats. I have some client boats, yachts, all kinds of stuff. Well, on the reef sides, so I joined this dealership. It's Power Boats USA, um, which they import reef boats, luxury, uh, kind of like big size rib boats
Mm-hmm.
from Greece. We used to have also a brand from Italy. It was a Pirelli, actually the Pirelli from the tires. Well, they got like collaboration with Saks, so they build their own ribs and they brought it here in the U.S. to sell them. We were the representatives, and the Greece brand. It's called a Skipper. It's the one we actually move the most now because Pirelli we kind of like ended up the partnership. But
Okay.
yeah, I joined this Powerboats USA dealer like a year and a half ago. As a captain, they needed a few hand in there, logistics, sea trials, keep up the stock,
Mm-hmm.
eventual repairs, yeah, all kind of stuff. And it was, I was bread and butter right there because I mean I love the reefs, from Argentina. I really had some experience in them, so uh, I really loved it. And telling the difference, from because of course the reef I had in Argentina was a completely different, segment. It was something more smaller. It was 6 meter. I think that's like 23 feet, 22 feet. I'm not exactly sure the conversion right now, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a single engine, smaller reef. And right here, we got the Miami, U.S. Florida style, the triple quads. And yeah, I mean those drapes are different, whole different story. And I really got to see what these rips are about. The build quality, what they push, the different segments. I got to, of course, I mean, I'm mostly based with Skipper, but I got to see a little closely the competition, see what they offer, and different range of things. So, and I think like the rip boats, they have become such a thing here in Miami. Like you start seeing them more often out on the water. It's something
Yeah.
like they're European based. They're for the Mediterranean. That's Europe, Greece. They have it all over the place. So that little concept they got there is starting to come here. Starting to introduce more into the pleasure boats. People are not really into fishing. They just want to live in Miami. They have the waterfront house and they just want to enjoy. Go to a restaurant, come back, sunbathe.
Mm-hmm.
So that segment is picking up a little bit. Um, yeah, so if you want, I can talk you out about the different builds. What I have seen on the past, because we all know here, Florida, here it's the Rust Hell, Ring of Fire, where if a boat survives South Florida, it will survive anywhere in the world. And I've been
Oh,
through that learning
100%.
process with these brands, where they first brought the boats here, and of course, there's a few things that we gotta polish and a few things we gotta change, to make the boat more make it more a 20-year old boat and that can last over time, right?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. The difference in a rib boat in Argentina versus like a Pirelli is I'm sure pretty drastically different. And then like you said in Miami, it's more about just being on the water and having that kind of like, being near the water and having that luxury of getting on the boat, going to the restaurant, cruising the canals, kind of like yeah, it's just like that's what you do for recreation and not necessarily like fishing, but like just being on the water and cruising around. So now you're talking about new boats coming in. Are there so what are like some new boats? Because you mainly deal with like luxury brands on like yachts. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Um, this past year where I'm really focusing on ribs, but of course, I do have some other market cap, and us power boats dealer, we also a brokerage firm, so we do offer other boats. We have some new projects also coming soon, like we will open our own brand, not rave inclined, but overall yachting, luxury yachting, and it's something you see a lot now, like a lot of new brands around, where you just in the water, you see, oh, what is that right there? It's just a new concept of a pardo yacht, or something different. It's becoming pretty interesting to see all the new layouts out there.
Yeah, I've definitely just from like the Miami Boat Show and other shows, I've seen a lot more. There's a lot more boat brands out there that you are like, well, what is that? You kind of like, what is that? What are some brands that you see that are like kind of new to the market that people might not be, they might not know about, that you're kind of excited about, that you've seen like new boats coming out?
Okay, that's a good question. I would have to think about it. The first thing that may come at my mind, it's the Antonio Yachts, this new concept where they're putting outboards to this. They're enclosing these outboards on the like a little sunbed on the back, so they're like hidden and you don't see them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know that's been around, for like 2 years, 3 years or more. Well, then Tesoro also. Tesoro is a similar brand. They're doing the same stuff. Uh, yeah, out of the bag, I cannot really name a lot of brands, but every time it happens to me, I go out there. I do see a lot, and here and there. Well, I think Wally also. Not sure how much they've been around, but I saw the boats like literally like a year ago, or something, and now they're all over. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
new concept we're doing. Wally
Yeah.
yachts.
Yeah, I've
Um,
only seen that done on like the N24s, but I've only seen, I think Pursuit did that I saw one time, where they had like the outboards on the transom and they built like a sun deck around it, and then had the top that like came on and covered them up, and that is pretty cool. I mean, kind of sucks if you got to work on them, but
Yeah, man, it kind of joins the outboard fever out there. They're getting so popular. Everyone's like, just slap an outboard. I don't want to have inboards. I don't want to work on them. It's crazy.
hmm
It's rusty down there. Uh,
yeah.
it makes sense up to a certain point. Because, for example, I have a client. They have a TN 2042, and I mean, it's great, but like the handling, the hull shape, it's a V shape. It's pretty deep, but it just feels so weird. It's like you got two speeds, or you go slow, or you going flying by the water. Like you don't have in
Yeah.
between, because you can feel the engines. They're not made for to push weight. I mean, you have triple 400s in there, but it's a small prop, small diameter. You
hmm
feel a lot of the prop sleep, and yeah, that kind of like kills a little the vibe. It's a very weird and strange like feeling, opposed to the twin inboards diesel, where you do feel the push, and you can choose the whole RPM range to use the boat.
Yeah, that's something I don't think a lot of people, well, until you get into that section, that's like a problem that people don't really think about, is that how big the boat gets, and you still want the outboards, but yet the performance is completely different because of how small the props are on an outboard compared to like a diesel outboard, where you got this massive propeller that can actually push the weight of that boat. And I mean, that's kind of why you see Mercury coming out with V12s and V10s and like these bigger engines, because you want the convenience and ease of the outboard, but yet you still got to push. Like, we're talking about a 25, 30,000 pound yacht plus, depending, and those are only like 30, 40 feet. Those aren't even the bigger yachts that I don't know, probably never will get to um, to convert away from like diesel power, just because I don't know if outboard power could get to that point to be able to do that. Like you said, they don't perform right.
Yeah, yeah, and also the thing, a lower unit, it's lot more compact. Like the transmission, like well, if you get to see the lower unit of a 600 versus a 400, it's almost
hmm
double the size. I mean, they really buffled up on that thing, but it still comes down. Even, well, I found pretty recently that the 600 is actually limited. Like say you have twin 600s and one of them go out. most likely the well, depends on the boat, but you will be able to get on plane with just 1/600 because of the gearbox, and then the door. You got
Mm-hmm.
double prop. Like it's a good setup, but the engine computer will limit the RPMs and the throttle to actually not break the transmission, because it's a lot of power going down to tiny lower unit, some small props, and well, Mercury. I think that they're still getting into that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, as you say, all the way that you got to push, and all the limitations. And I think, well, the outboard fever on the yachts and all that's coming a little bit. We talk about the maintenance. People don't really want to get into those inboards.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you said a lot of times in this channel, I mean, outboard, it's as reliable as you watch after them. If you don't watch after an
Mm-hmm.
outboard, if you don't flush it, if you don't keep up the maintenance, oof, they're not gonna last as much. And that's the thing. I mean, if you have 3 4 outboards in order to get your vessel up to plane, and you lose one of them, then you cannot plane. You have, it's always more maintenance. But yeah, it's a whole thing, out there.
Yeah. You kind of stuck going slow. Do you deal with like, because there's kind of the electric stuff that's coming in that's trying to get into the outboard game, but in the yacht space, like Volvo has like hybrids and stuff where you've got like biodiesels and like a hybrid electric system. Do you see a lot of those kind of like getting into the yachting or not really?
I'm very into that hybrid systems, especially because it's kind of like the fantasy of well, the most time the engine hours get used to is idling, going slow on a yacht, and if you can switch that
Mm-hmm.
for an electric motor. I haven't seen them much around, honestly. I would love to get my hands on one of them, and really try it out, see, what's the thing. In paper, it's something, but then you got to see how well it does over the years, and the performance, and especially the batteries, and this, I mean, marine environment, the salt water, humidity. Oof, it's gonna be a challenge. I mean, hope they can get it dialing. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because I haven't seen. I just don't. Well, I mean, I'm not really into the yachting scene necessarily. So I mean, like I know Volvo does that kind of stuff, but I didn't know how prominent it was.
Hmm.
And so okay, now kind of on that note, I know like back, to 21, 22. I mean, everybody knows about, how big of a boom the boating industry had. How do you kind of see that now that we're in 2025? Do you see things kind of like slowing down? What do you see people as like from a seller's perspective of like, if I got a boat and I'm trying to sell it, how do you see that market kind of changing as of right now compared to how it was a couple years ago?
So, a little bit what I've noticed, after the pandemic, there was a huge boom, on the boat sales. Stock was quite limited. The prices got a little up. Now, the past year, it's been a little more complicated. It's been declining a little bit. Dealerships, they got some old stock, they got to rid of. You're starting to see some good prices, some good discounts. Um, right on the elections after Trump won, we saw a little spike, like, yeah, on the last month. It started to move a little bit. Now it's, well, because the season is slowly slowing down now. It's coming to down again. It's the sales starting to drop a little bit.
Mm,
Yeah, you right now you will see some steep discounts right there. Since the Miami Boat Show, I think stuff been dropping up. But
right.
yeah, I mean, let's say how it goes. I mean, there's so much uncertainty out there on the market right now. The tariff thing, everyone's just expecting to see what's going to happen. The interest rates and everything. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, if I have to look down these past years, I would say the market slowed down a little bit.
So it's definitely into a buyer's market, and if you're a seller and you're trying to sell your boat, it's kind of like um, your perspective kind of needs to change as far as like people aren't getting what they were getting, and the perceived value of somebody's boat is probably a lot less than unfortunately what they paid for it.
Yeah, it goes really down to that. I personally have some customers, they bought their boat like a year ago, or even in the pandemic, they barely used it. Like they got like 20, 30, 50 hours in the boat literally, and they're losing, a third of the price, just trying to sell it out, and the boat is brand new, and it's really crazy to see that. Um, it, yeah, like lately the price has been dropping a little bit. It's not looking very good. So yeah, if you're looking to buy a boat, you might wanna take a look into what is right now on the market, see what deals you can get. Especially as we said on the like dealers, they might have some old stock, some
Mm-hmm.
2024 boats, even some 2023. I mean, I'm not kidding. So yeah, it's just what you're looking at. Make sure you can get a solid deal. Just push it, and I can tell from my perspective, if right now if you want to go for a deal, it's a good time to do it.
Mm-hmm. Good for buyers, not so good for those that are trying to sell your boat. So we had obviously the supply chain was kind of an issue too. I mean, I don't want to get into tariffs. I'm not going to talk about tariffs, but like from a supply chain, as far as the availability, not necessarily the price, because right now with tariffs, everybody's talking about price. But as far as like the actual supply of stuff, do you see the supply chain being pretty much leveled off, or is that still kind of like an issue getting some parts here and there?
Um, from my experience, it's kind of leveled off now. Uh, we're not really getting that delay on orders and all that. Like from our dealer point of view, every time we order something, we got our timeline and we get it. Um, Maybe a little bit in the past, I can tell you yes, but I cannot really guarantee you because I was not really too much into it back then. So if I'll tell you, I will lie to you.
Yeah, yeah. All right, then. Okay, so I got an interesting question then. If so, from you like selling the boats, are there specific brands that you see that are kind of like, if you're a seller or whatever, if you got a boat, what brands do you see like move very easily versus brands that like don't move so easily? What would be like your top five brands that kind of like someone brings a boat in, they're like, "Hey, I want to sell my boat," and they say they have XYZ brand or boat. Is there certain ones that you're like, "Oh, that thing's going to move quick"? Like, there's that doesn't matter what's going on, people are going to buy that boat.
So depends a lot on the segment you're looking at, what type of boats. I can tell you most like what you see here in Miami, like the dating yachts, like on the 40, 35 ish, 50-foot range. Like well, out of the bag, the most known ones, like Pardo, Vanquish, um, well, Asimo, they're everywhere. They're largest boat builder almost out there. Those are the thing people I notice they stick most around with the known brands because they want to have the resale out there. They
Mm-hmm.
know Sea Ray, well, Zero here in Miami, you do see a lot. Even though they didn't went past much, doing a lot of segments, different type of boats, they just really stick to what they know how to do. But they're a very solid brand, and yeah, I would say maybe Pardo. It's gonna
Pardo.
yeah, the best resale. It's like an icon out there. If you want to go a little more high end, you can go Vanquish. But the thing is, those boats, since they already have the name, they what I think they go for a lot of money. They offer like a standard package. Maybe you can get some other boats. They offer more stuff for a better price, but you don't have the name out there. So the day of tomorrow, if you're gonna go sell it, it's gonna be a little more tough. That's the thing about getting these like new brands boats or the like limited editions. It's like you're gonna have tough time selling it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
mhm.
Than one that's more like, oh, there's a lot more of them, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, correct. I mean, and also the more you see it, out there and on the market, the more trust you get. And okay, if something happens, it's gonna respond. Where's the service center, warranties, where the boat made, and all that.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite boat?
My favorite boat. Oh, what a good question. I always knew this answer, but it changes every time. It's crazy. Um, I like a lot of Galleon yachts. I think like how
Okay,
they
yeah.
that yeah, the innovation they do, the quality of their stuff. the concepts they bring. It's I love it. You know, the balconies. I'm not sure if they were the kind of the first one on doing it, the side open balconies, but they everybody you see, you know, they
Mm-hmm.
just lovely. I would like to see how far they go this years, you know, reliability and how all those big windows keep up, you know, and but yeah, as far as design and all that, I'll stick to those. Hmm.
So the galleon. Now, you think it's you think it's more the looks of them, or is it more like the innovations of them, like the big windows, the big sides that fold out, like that kind of stuff? Is that what kind of draws you to them more?
Yeah, it's innovation. I also loved a lot Sirena yachts. Like I fall in love a little bit with the like Navetta series that came out a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
I'm starting to slowly kind of like losing interest on that, but yeah, I think it's a very nice boat. The Sirenas as well, Absolutes. You know, also they kind of share a little bit the models. Um, yeah, and well, one of my also favorite all time favorites, it's Sea Ray. They're just best boats out there regarding, you know, how reliable they are, the parts and all that. They're tough boats, and you can tell why, you know, all the charter people here in Miami, all you're gonna see around is mostly Sea Rays because they, you know, they're easy to work on. So that's a huge plus. I'll tell to them. I personally drive a Sea Ray 590, the Fly, and I
Okay.
find that's a beautiful boat. I mean, it's so well done. The materials, everything's, you know, easy to work on, reliable. So,
Hmm.
as of my captain point of view, yeah, as a captain, you know, it's you know, work on it. And you get the fails out there, and you really appreciate the reliability and being able, you know, to have a solid, you know, solid boat. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a big brand too. I mean, Sea Ray's been around for a long time. They got, I mean, well, they're owned by Brunswick. So Brunswick, they're in that group that owns everybody. You know, they own Boston Whaler and Mercury and like the whole nine yards. So I personally like Sea Rays too. I like the looks of them. I've been on quite a few of them, so I like them too. The I I think I like the roominess of them personally. For a lot of, depends on the model, obviously. You know, some of the bigger ones, and then some of the, you know, 23s, 24s, 25s in that mid 20 range. They're, you know, not really what I'm talking about. But from a yacht perspective, like the Sundance and stuff like that, the 40s and the high 30s, I find them to be like roomy, and just the looks, the layouts, kind of like the accents and the way the cushions are. I mean, I think they're just a pretty boat all the way around.
Yeah, I share completely. Like the Sundancers, you know, down there, the space is huge.
Hmm.
Very comfortable. The layout, you know, the materials also they build. It's the body you see it. It's I feel very different from some other European boats. They feel a little more solid. These the American ones, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah. So talking about the size, what do you see it being the more popular sizes of yachts that people are like actively buying right now? Are they more like, is it the 30s? Is it the 40s? Is it the 50s? Like what do you see a lot of?
Oof. Well, the bigger the boat, the more expensive. So the tighter the market gets. So that's literally the curve you get. I see a lot, most tendency it's to the 40s and 50 footer boats. Now, you know, with all these joysticks where you can get, you know, owner inclined operators and friendly, you
Hmm.
know, interfaces where, yeah, they're looking a lot to make it easier friendly to the owner. So that range, 40, 50 footers, I see what that's moving the most. Because then
Hmm.
also when you get like past 60 feet, like on the big boats, the price it just skyrockets. And past 80,
Hmm.
it's a whole new level, you know, whole new different boat, different standards. So it's a whole different price tag.
Right. So once you, it seems like that 60 mark is like where, for whatever reason, maybe that's now okay. So on that line of thinking, then do you think, because I'm guessing at 60, something about 60 being like maybe it's the weight, or something like that. Most likely has to do with weight. Like once you get above 60 feet, now all of a sudden you need a much bigger engine to push all that weight, which is what astronomically brings the price up because now you're talking about whole new sets of engines and stuff. I wonder if like the high 50s, if it is that weight thing, then are you topping off? Are we putting the most amount of like are we squeezing every inch of power out of the engine as possible? Is it, do you think that the engines and stuff are like less reliable because you're at that like the top of performance from that? What do you think about that? I mean, that's just something I was thinking about.
Well, coming a little bit into that, I remember like 2 years ago, I managed this. It was an Azimuth 43S from a client, and something I really noticed when I was trying to work on the boat is they were trying to get to fit this big boat stuff on a small boat, and it was just not really matching it. It was really, that the engine was so crammed up, and yeah, the parts were not really, easy to get, and the overall feedback over that is, as you say, it depends on the builder, like how they're going to match the parts. They're going to use the same parts for bigger boats or smaller boats.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Regarding like the 50 to 60 footer range, I think they kind of like, Mm, so the thing is, when you go into like the 60-footer range, you start getting more equipment. That's where it gets more complicated. You get, well, most of them are going to be planing holes, right? But you got the stabilization system. Yeah, the engines are going to be a little bigger, but it's not really what it gets into. The AC cooling system. You get into more complicated stuff. When also they like to add more. Now with this huge flybridge that they make, and yeah, like the platforms that retreat, and all kind of equipment that they add, it just makes the boat a lot more expensive. And yeah, it's a jump from the category where a 50 footer might just be a more simple boat to build, and more meant to maybe do some coastal around Bahamas, maybe trip, come back. Let's talking about South
Mm-hmm.
Florida, right? Then if you go into more like 60, 70 footer, then yeah, you're talking maybe another type of ranges that you're doing. Also enters
Yeah.
some, yeah, categories of the boat. I'm not exactly familiar with it, but how they are rated, like the type of boat, if they can go out offshore, how many miles, and all of that, the build quality.
Right.
hmm Yeah. Well, you
That's
starting to,
interesting.
yeah, you're starting to see now a little more. They're getting more popular. The explorer boats. They made this steel hulls, and they made them very stiff up, and I mean, seaworth boats, not just a
Mm-hmm.
fiberglass boat. And you're out there, going out, and every wave you see, you feel the whole boat tremble around, and you see, oh my God, it's you just doubt about the integrity of the boat. Well, with these new explorer boats, they just made them even up to like 50. That might be like the lowest size they make, but 60-footer. You see some around. There was here in Miami. They were chartering it, an Explorer 60, I think it was. And it's a new class that's out there. It's very very interesting. Like, the Explorer yachts, like Nord Harbor, I think that was the name, or well, now Bering yachts out there. They starting to bring that Explorer yacht kind of like concept a little down, downgrading it a little bit more accessible for recreational people, not really someone that wants to cross the Atlantic, but just have that boat build up super stiff, and see.
It's almost like a different thing because you start talking about the metal, or like you talk about the steel boats, stuff like that. Like in Australia and other places, I know it's very common. But then whenever we start talking about steel boats, I'm thinking more like trawlers and like that type of style, opposed to like when we talk about yachts, like I'm thinking like Sea Rays, Sundancers, Princess, Galleons, the Pradas, like I'm thinking, that sleek style, not really the steel. When I think of a steel boat, I'm thinking like the trawler style, the big open massive, like obviously they're super strong, super stable, like even in rough season. I mean, it's like it's solid steel. So that's the kind of way I see it. What do you see? um are there more like kind of yachty steel, like this Explorer that you're talking about? Is it more like, what is it, more
Yeah,
like a trawler, or more like like that sleek style of yacht that with the curves and stuff like that?
exactly. Yeah, that's kind of like the concept a lot of people had, this past few years, where, oh, you think about a steelboat, you think about a ferry, or a trawler, something, different, and all that kind of stuff. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now they're trying like to bring that steel concept to a more like regular boats.
Mm.
For example, I'm not sure if you know this couple Nautic styles. They just they're building right now a bearing. It was a 17. Now I think it's an 80 footer, but it just looks like a regular yacht. It just looks like a Princess. Well, very similar to the Horizon or the Princess X series, the X95, where they make this huge double deck boat. Where the it's very strange, like the flybridge is actually like the main deck, and that's a
Mm.
very I mean, it's not going to be a planing hull. It's going to be displacement, but still, they bring that trawler integrity into a more pleasure luxury looking yacht where sometimes you cannot
Mm.
really tell. Oh, is that a steel boat? Is that a aluminum boat? Um, Sorry, a fiberglass boat. Well, talking about aluminum, you do see some boats now. Vanquish, for example, Vanquish yachts, like a lot of they do the aluminum boats, and it's pretty strange, like, to you think about, okay, how durable it's going to be, how tough it's going to be if something happens.
Yeah.
What will you break that? What's going on? Um, yeah, a little.
Yeah, that kind of the aluminum, I'm thinking like, I'm thinking John boats and like other kind of alumacrafts and like things up to like, or a rib boat. There's a lot of ribs that have the actual hull be it as an aluminum, but I'm thinking like, once you get above like, I don't know, maybe like mid 20s, I can't think of a aluminum 30-foot boat brand like off the top of my head. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
yeah. I'm
now
sure there is, but
there's this new brand called Lecker. They're also based here in Miami, where they it's kind of strange. They had you see like the rescue boats and these huge ships, like the Titanic
mhm.
style rescue boats. They kind of like copy that, like the sign is like a weird, like retro vintage. I don't know, and they made it into like a pleasure boat. It's aluminium. They also make some other, like I think the 44 model they have. It's more like a you know darling, but similar to this part of the style boats, but it's still aluminum. The feedback I haven't ridden one of those. I haven't been driving one of those. But a friend of mine, he told me like you hear everything. You go down to the cabin, and
Oh.
every splash of water you get, it's super loud out there, and oof, like that's the thing. It's a thinner hull, and you gotta isolate
Mhm.
it better. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you think about that and like, take it to something simple like a John boat. When you get in a John boat, yeah, you hear I didn't even think about that. You hear everything. I mean, like it's obviously lighter and thinner and stuff like that, but because I think and I'm sure there is. Like I'm in South Florida, you're in Miami, so we see I mainly see fiberglass stuff. So, I'm sure someone in Washington or some other state they know all the aluminum brands and I didn't even think about the sound, but because if you look at the aluminum versus the steel, like the aluminum's going to be so much lighter, but again, like a lot of that has to do with it's easy to repair. You're going down rivers, you bump bottom or whatever, and it's like boom, you can repair it easily. But um, as far as an offshore, like you're trying to go massive distances like in a yacht, like you get on these kinds of luxury brands, you're getting on the boat, you're leaving the dock, you're going to the Bahamas, hanging out on the boat for a week and then driving back, or you're going Turks and Caicos, like you're actually making long distance cruises. So durability and like that's a big thing.
Exactly. Yeah, we all get the question. Okay, what happens if you go ground? Like it will just bend. It will just open up. But like, how do you fix that? It's a lot of questions. Yeah, with those boats. I'm not exactly 100% familiar with it. I only driven one Vanquish before. Not really have the time to go deep with it. But yeah, they're very popular brand down here, Bankish Yachts. Now they got the new model. I think the 115 footer.
Mm,
Not sure if that one's still aluminum. Got to look into that, but yeah, I mean it raises up a lot of questions.
yeah, super interesting. So let's go back to talk about those components a little bit. You're talking about as you get more, you've got kind of like you get into the 60 footers, 80 footers, obviously you've got so much more space. You can do so much more things. You've got bow thrusters, the sides that fold out, you've got the generators and all that. Are there certain components like let's go back into the like 30s, 40s, 50s range. Let's not really talk about the 60s, the 80s, 100s because that's a different breed. Like you said, once you get to that point, it's very limited people in that like group. But are in the 30s, 40s, 50s, are there like certain components that you guys see more problems with or like um certain maybe systems like the AC system or the whatever the refrigeration system, are there ones that are more problematic than others, or are there like any kind of innovations changes that you see in those different systems?
Yeah, yeah, most likely yes. Because I mean, now in these smaller boats, they're trying to pack as many things as they can. I mean, you look about 15 years ago, it was much more simpler. Not only from the technology point of view, the kind of infotainment systems you have. Now you got all this NEMA 2000. Uh, they want to make this whole boat integrated. I can give you, for example, well, I told you before we represented a Pirelli boat. It was
Yeah, yeah.
great trademark with Sachs made in Italy. And this boat, for example, the fuse panel, it was not something physical. It was like a digital fuse panel where
Yeah.
something tripped and you go out to the main screen. It had a like I think that it was the biggest Garmin screen. I'm not sure if it was a 20 inch or what crazy thing. And I mean it was crazy. I mean, and the regular boater, if I used to call all the captains to it, and they were like, I don't understand this. Like, where is this? Where is that? Like they make stuff a little over complicated where I mean, it comes down to you got to know what you're doing with the screens, because if not, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot fix stuff. And they sometimes they use some weird European manufacturer for the, I don't know, the water pump, the AC. We got the same issue where we got the on this brand new boat, the AC was not really it was not really working. Okay, what do we do, as my boss, the owner of the dealer, he was losing his mind because we got this guy that bought the boat, and we gotta get this AC fixed, and nobody can fix it because we call AC technicians, we call everyone, and they just come, they charge from the inspection, but they don't know what to do, and we ended up getting
Mm.
back to the factory. But it's always like a slow process, and even more if it's overseas, the process it's a
Yeah.
lot different. So these brands, and they're not very popular out there. They put stuff on a boat, they cram up all down together, and it gets super hard to work on the boat. And yeah, I mean, it's especially here in, I can tell you from, because I do a lot of the feedback with Skipper, the factory. Those are the ribs we sell the most here. So of course there are always improvement on stuff like, hey, watch out, this it's getting over corroded. Maybe the steel quality is not the best, or this pump it's already failed a couple times. Let's maybe change it. And the most things they got, these guys, they don't really like, they get crazy. The factory guys from Greece, they fly here some of the boat shows. I mean, I show them the stuff and they're like, this is insane, this only happens here in Florida. Like, I don't know what's going on, like they lose
Mm-hmm.
their minds as well because they don't get those stuff in Europe. And that tells you a lot that here in South Florida, the elements, it's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
it's the salt, the air, the humidity. So a lot of these European builders, they're not ready for, let's say, or they don't really know how the conditions are out there. So maybe they just, okay, let's put this brand for a water pump that's cheaper, and then let's go. But then you get it here in America, it fails, and the technician, is going around, especially if they do all these complicated systems where they integrate all together into a NEMA 2000 system, or yeah, as I said, like the digital switching, like for the fuses, the trip, it's complicated.
Mm.
So yeah, that's where you see a lot of these things, go kind of bad. We all know, boating, like you always get something bad. Even in new boats, like the break-in period, you will always get some warranty claims. You gotta change this, you change that, and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
you might just do a boat that's easy to work on straight on.
Right. So you don't see it being like a specific system in general, like outside of like the one-off, like they're using a cheaper product or something that's like specific to a European boat builder that you can't really get it in the US or like it doesn't hold up to the elements. But outside of those, it's not really a specific system. Like we see a lot of AC issues or we see a lot of like stabilization issues. It's more into um the digital switching system of like now everything on these yachts are completely controlled digitally, and unless you kind of understand how digital system networks work, you kind of like you might have a component failure, but really figuring out the component failure, it might not even be the component, is more something going on with the digital switching system that is why the component's not working.
It does happen. As you say, the overall system, the network. Because the thing is, when you get such a complex network, it's okay, it might work fine for a couple of years, but then after corrosion, if the boat was not properly maintained, if there was humidity on all the system, it all gets corroded. And after that, then you want to know, okay, where's the failure? But you pull out all the electronics and everything's corroded. It's like, where do I start? That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that may bring down. But well, coming down to the other thing that you were mentioning, there are specific parts. Um, well, I can tell you from my experience what I worked on. For example, this little shower that we had, like the retractable shower, the brand was Whale. um they were getting I mean, it was like a stainless ring, with you just pull. It's just a very simple system. It was just getting continuously like the bluish or green corrosion around the stainless, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot remove it, and you just gotta swap it. And literally every like 3 4 months, like
Wow.
they didn't last like 6 months. It was crazy. So we were getting bombarded with warranty claims and this and that. So when we speak back to the factory, and they tell us, well, I mean, that's what everyone uses. That's the thing. A lot of boats, they share the parts. They all, they just build a hull, this and that, and then they all buy from the
Mm-hmm.
same suppliers, same brands. And yeah, it's something that's something that really triggered me. Or well, then
Whale's a big
refrigerators.
brand. I mean, Whale's a big
It's a big
plumbing.
brand. That's the thing. It's out there.
It's a very big
Not
brand.
yeah, I'm not sure if it's what we got, the specific model or what, but yeah, I mean, it was not doing it. Um, and then it's something that is not even electric component. It's just actually it's a piece of hardware, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
uh, then what was some fridges here and there, like BT Frigo. Not a really big fan of those. I will stick with the Isotherm. uh, well, yeah, it all comes down also how the shipyard actually installed them. If they put the compressor and all the stuff in a place where there's gonna be humidity and stuff is gonna go bad. So I don't want to really point fingers out saying, "Oh, this brand is better than this one," because most of the times it also comes down to how the manufacturers applies to it. How where they're
Mm-hmm.
placed, how well it's sealed, and all that. Gotta be
Right.
fair in that aspect. But
So let's move away from that and let's stay on the components or whatever. What we're kind of like dogging on the tech or whatever, but what kind of tech's coming out, or like what features have you seen, like new stuff that you like and that you're excited about seeing?
I really like this. Well, this it's been around for a while, but let's say like this Garmin, the night vision cameras. They have a
Oh
few
yeah.
ones. I think they're a game changer out there. They're easy to install, easy to get. Um, well, something also now. Well, Garmin, here in the U.S. it's what you do see a lot around. That's what I'm most familiar with. They're still improving on their systems. On our boats, for example, we got a sonar, depth finder that it doesn't work when you go past like 10 miles an hour because of the
Mm-hmm.
bubbles of the hull and all that. And it's something we're trying to upgrade to that, something more standard, a little different stuff, but they don't really offer a solution with that. So they're slowly going, improving the stuff. Also with let's say, well, GL Audio, now they got purchased by Garmin, so they
Mm-hmm.
getting the partnership, they're integrating their system, but still, in there there's some problems, compatibility, they're not so compatible. So we got some issues where we got little remotes all around the boat, and they were simply not pairing to the stereo. And we call this GL technician, these guys, and we change all those parts, new stereo, new remote, and still not really pairing. You're like, okay, what do we do now? And they really come down to the point of just saying, okay, I don't know, it's a software issue. It's Garmin is still working on it, the future update or something, and you just you gotta tell that to the client, and it's kind of like compromising. But
Yeah, because that stuff's expensive.
yeah, it's
JL ain't cheap.
expensive. Especially also if you from the warranty point of view, where you're just buying stuff. A new stereo might be like $600. And just
Yeah.
trying out there buying stuff. It's complicated. But
Hmm.
I think that they're improving a lot with the systems. The NEMA 2000 network. I think it's been around already, but it's a very nice system. You can integrate. It's make it super easy to control everything from one screen. And
Hmm.
uh,
One of the cool things that I saw with the camera, or well, the coolest thing that I like with the camera that I've seen on stuff is the ones where they put them in the oh shoot, now I can't think of the name. The plate that protects, it's like part of the bow roller, but when the anchor comes up, the anchor guard, that plate where that is, they've put a camera in that on the front of the boat, and so now you've got like this perfect like view. So like when you're docking, stuff like that, I always thought that was just super cool, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, all those features. You put cameras around, all that, and well, talking about that, about the versatility. Right now, the Disney products. Do you see me? You hear me well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I see a little blurred out. I was telling you this new, like the Dogmate and all these new like things that are coming out where you can dock a boat or yacht from anywhere on the boat, remotely with this remote control. This
Mm-hmm.
basically a system. It goes into the to the canvas, into Mercury, into the NEMA system. It just makes it user friendly a lot. It's something very nice. From the price standpoint, that's also another thing. I mean, because I saw them at the boat show, and they're like, okay, starting price at $15,000. I'm like, oh my god. I mean, I can get for the regular boater. I mean, who's gonna take that? I mean, it's gonna be
Yeah.
something out there. Um, yeah, but the equipment right now, they're really digging in and new stuff, and it's very interesting to see what this all boating demand is taking us to. Hmm.
Yep, yep. So, all right, let's talk about getting a deal. What as a buyer, what can somebody do to kind of look on getting a deal on a boat? Like what's some tactics that they might be able to use to find a good deal on a boat?
That's a good question. You might want to look around at. So let's say you already know what boat you want to buy, what brand. You're just waiting for the right moment.
Mhm.
You want to follow up a little bit with where the dealer or distributor is to see how they're doing with the stock mainly. If it's a good or bad moment to buy in the market. Look a little bit at the prices, what because most of it when you get a good price is on some stock they want to get rid of. Um, what you might also want to check on that it's the actual condition of some boats. 'Cause some boats are brand new, but because they're a year old, 2 years old, and maybe the whoever represents the dealer, they're keeping in the boat, out in a yard or
Mhm.
exposed, and yeah, it might be a brand new boat, but it's technically, it's already a year and a half, 2 years into the, yeah, it's
Into the
getting
fitting.
exposed to the elements. Yeah, so you
Mhm.
might think, okay, wow, yeah, I'm getting a crazy little steep discount, but whenever so that happen, you want to really look down into it and see, make a good inspection on the boat, see if you're not really getting something that might bring you a problem out there. Because the dealer, they just want to sometimes sell the boat, and they're not really just going to be after it all the time. They're just going to keep it stored. Sometimes the batteries might get drained, you might get a battery that's been not very well kept, or I don't know, if they use the boat as a demo boat and they made 1,000 hours on the engines, and Well, I mean, I've seen it personally on some other boats, some other brands where it's a brand new boat. It has already 100 hours, 80 hours, like 60 hours. It really happens, and whoever used
Wow.
that, it's sea trials, flat out going max speed.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody flushing those engines. Yeah, nobody really, it's because it's not an own boat at the end of the day. It's just the boat. It comes down to the employees who ever take down the boat and take care of it. So I would say whenever you want to look at the deal in a new market boat, you might want to look at some stock they want to get rid of, but make sure you make your research on that, and not just because they gave me a crazy discount on this, just go and take it blindly. Just do your research,
Right.
look at the boat because you might get a little lemon. Um,
Yeah. What would be a good question to ask? Or a couple questions that you would ask?
where the boat has been kept, where they kept the boat, where their facility is, where's the service center. Yeah, it mostly come down to a visual inspection. If they kept the boat in the water, there's a lot of brand new boats. They just put it on the water and they just wait there until they get sold, and they might be 6 months in the water, and then you got to check the anodes, see how they are. Visual
Mm-hmm.
inspection,
Yeah.
the bottom paint. It's something that you will see, and make sure you check the bilge, see of corrosion. That's how you really want to tell how the boat was treated, and also the
Yeah.
overall quality of the components. So maybe that's something good you want to. I mean, if you're looking into, I don't know, getting a new brand that's you're not really familiar with it, maybe just look at the older stock they have. They have a 2020, early 2024 boat in stock, and they had a 2025 brand new. They're the same boat. Which okay, let me take a look at this 2024 brand. Okay, they've been storing this boat in the dealer, maybe outside or something. They've been using for sea trials. I want to see the condition of the boat. That will I'll also tell you a lot of it. Um, you know,
Yeah. I like that question of like, where is the boat being kept? And then also like, those questions around how was the boat maintained and where was it sitting, because so if it's like you said, if it's a 2023, it's obviously been sitting somewhere for 2 years. If it's got 100 hours on it, like, you can kind of like ask questions about that, and then your visual inspection would kind of back that up. And that's also really good to like, if you're looking at a 2023 model and you want to kind of like look into it, go find that same model as a 2015 or similar model, and then inspect it and kind of see, oh, that, and then you can ask questions based on what you saw on the older model. That's really good. I like that you said that.
yeah, exactly. Also, to see if there's some other upgrades or some changes that they have done on the boat from the feedback of the buyer. So yeah, you might be
Mm,
getting maybe a good deal on a old stock boat that's still brand new, but maybe on the new one they changed these features, and now it's because they had some complaints in the past. So you wanna look at that as well.
right, right.
um
Okay,
yeah.
now go ahead.
No, sorry, and then also because here in Florida, the sun, and all these new boats, they also like to to change the color to make these new fancy looking boats like gray, black boats, all sort of
Hmm.
colors where they here in the sun it just eats it up, and it's really crazy. I've seen it before. Some client boats that they bought where they were getting. The roof of the boat it was black. They like to make these T-top black roofs, and they
Hmm.
was getting super oxidized from the sun. Like it was you see all the after a year the whole roof was all white. So they
Hmm.
went, they buff it, but after 2 months it was again white. So the
Right.
question started rising of what's going on here, and it ended up being that some of these European boats they use the different rated paint. It's more for cold environments. They don't withstand too much the insane heat that we have over here, so they were not simply withholding. They were not doing it. So the whole thing got to be repainted, and that's also going back to what I said. Like some of these European boats, they misjudge the conditions that we have out there. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy because and you wouldn't know something like that unless you looked at like an older model and like kind of like, whoa, what happened here? I like.
Yeah.
kind of going back to that upgrade, that's a good thing that you said with the upgrade, and like, maybe this has a different XYZ that's nicer. What would be like if you were trying to sell your boat, what would be some features or upgrades that you would do to maybe kind of like up the value of your boat? So like if you're comparing two boats to buy, this one's got whatever GPS or XYZ features. What would be some of those features that you could put on your boat in order to maybe kind of bring the value of it up? So I'm thinking like you're talking about how you get like you can upgrade. Like if you're looking at a 2020 model and you look at the 2024 model, there might be some upgrades on that boat that makes it more valuable. So like if you're kind of like if you're trying to sell your boat, what do you find as specific features that add value to the boat where it's like I wouldn't put any money into buying a bigger GPS because that really doesn't bring any value versus like, oh yeah, if you put this money into the stereo, the value of the boat's going to be way more expensive. Like, are there certain features that you would encourage someone upgrade on a boat to make it worth more money, or is it pretty much kind of like not really don't do much upgrades to kind of like increase the value of the boat?
I don't really think there's like a specific actually like thing. Okay, let's like you said, like a special audio package you'll get here and there. Um, at the end of the day, some people, if you're not really going offshore or something, some people are changing, let's say the radar for a night vision camera. That might be
Okay.
something a few customers mention, or from my perspective, I don't like when boats they get a lot too many stuff. Like the small boats, they like to pack in okay a seakeeper, like the lower end versions. Small generator, all this little tiny stuff that they're not really, they're just out there, to say that they're available, but they're not really meant for lasting years, and they're gonna bring problems.
Right.
Like this small AC, there's some 12-volt powered AC out there. They might run for a year, 2 year before they bring any problem to you, and it's just gonna be something else gonna be sitting bad on your boat, So when you're gonna go sell it, and you're gonna have the surveyor come and oh yeah, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work.
The upgrades, it's kind of like buyer specific. It's kind of like depending on who the person is. That's what you were talking about. You're talking about that there's not really one thing that's better than another thing or that brings value because every buyer is different, and one might want the radar and the other guy wants night vision. So it's kind of like I don't know if there are any upgrades. So I mean, but I don't know exactly where it ended. So how we chop
Mhm.
that up.
Yeah, yeah, I know we really wanted to have like a solid answer, like yeah, you're gonna go, this is gonna update the value, but it's so like it's so like different, the stuff. It's like there's so much going on. It's like I don't know where to even point it out, because as you say, it really depends on the buyer. Like I would say what mostly it's gonna make you help you, on a resale of boat, or main of it is the brand, then as I said, like the equipment. Let's say if you have something that's known to not be reliable, then you're gonna have some trouble. Oh, this you have
Mhm.
the older version of this. This there's a new one. From every point of view, from like even from engine wise, power package that you have. Uh, yeah, but it like the overall buyer, he's just looking for a deal. If I can tell you, like if it's a well maintained boat and a solid brand, like he's not really going to the details, like oh it has this equipment instead of this.
Mhm.
If it's very specific, like if because we're talking about maybe plus $300,000 boats. So if he really just wants something, he will maybe just negotiate it from you. Okay, I'll buy you the boat, but you gotta put this, you gotta put that, you gotta detail the boat, you gotta fix this, fix that. So
Right. Yeah.
yes, it's such miscellaneous stuff, like maybe the equipment. Yeah, well, depends on what equipment. Some Garmin screens, it might be $20,000, not so miscellaneous,
Mhm.
but yeah, down to the little things like oh, I want some more speakers, some audio package. Yeah, it can be changed. Um,
Yeah. Not really a specific. There really isn't an exact upgrade that you can say. Well, always upgrade this or always upgrade that, just because. at that level, I guess also it kind of depends on the level too. You know, if we're talking about 25-foot boats, or we're talking about 18-foot boats, it's a little bit different than we're talking about 45, 50-foot boats that are, you know, up to $1 million plus. It's kind of like, well, an upgraded GPS package isn't really going to move the needle because a lot of people might want to just come in and make it their own. So for you to spend money to change something to try and upgrade and get more money, it might be better just to find the buyer and negotiate, you know, those kinds of things into the deal to where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you'll buy the boat, but you want XYZ done. So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
What will for sure, bring a deal in the table, it's if they see, you take care of the boat. So if upgrade
Mm-hmm.
something, get some really heavy duty covers for the boat, get some roof covers, cover everything, put a quick flush attachment on the outboard so the buyer can see, or yeah, that you really took care of the boat. That's gonna be the most
Mm-hmm.
of it, because you can have 1,000 hours, 2,000, 3,000 hours on a boat, but if it's well kept, if it's really if the owner can tell that you really kept about your boat, if the buyer, then yeah, you're gonna have a
Yeah.
deal there. It brings more down to that. Nothing from my experience, nothing kills more a deal than, for example, we got this guy that he wants to sell a boat, and okay, I have it here, and we just go to a showing, and it's all the bilge, it's full of water, leaves everywhere. It can be a good deal, it can be a discount, it can be low hours, whatever. But if it's not looking appealing to your eyes, if you don't see what you want to see, that's the most well maintained, you would just walk out of it, especially
Mm-hmm.
if you know what's up.
Makes total sense, Captain Gonzo. So really appreciate you coming on the show. This was awesome. Anybody that wants to check more out about Captain Gonzo, you can find him on Instagram. Your most popular, I think it's Captain Vision.
Biglino, Captain Biglino,
That's
yeah.
it. That's it. I can never get it right whenever I try and say it. So you can check him out on Instagram. Other than that, thanks for coming on.
Aaron, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here with you.
Hey there, sorry to take you away from the video, but real quick, did you know that on average a boat owner will spend between $1,000 and $5,000 a year just on servicing their engine? And you could actually pocket and save a lot of that money if you would just do the service yourself. It might seem like a daunting task, but I guarantee you virtually everyone can do it with our guidance and the Boaters program. This is just one skill that you could learn inside the program because we have hundreds of other videos teaching you all kinds of boating skills, as well as a weekly live stream where we have questions and answers with me, as well as a chat feature where you can send videos and pictures, ask all kinds of questions, or look for some advice or some guidance on a project that you're doing on your boat. You can join the program by hitting the first link in the description, clicking join, or visiting bornagainboating.com. Now back to the video.